Hello folks, thanks for tuning in to Weather NJ. I'm John Cifelli here. Very busy in the Cifelli Weather Center as we've had a lot of winter weather to deal with over the past week and really the past month and the entire winter in general, as 2010-2011 seems to be setting up to be one for the ages, and that continues now on into Thursday and Friday as we have another system making its way towards New Jersey. Will be a quick hitter, will be moisture starved, so accumulations will be much lower than some of the other storms we saw earlier in the winter. But because of the timing, with the snow falling in the pre-dawn on Friday towards the rush hour on Friday, there could be some travel concerns on Friday. But I do think it's all up and out of here really by mid-morning and certainly towards noon. Let's take a look first. Always like to diagnose the current situation across the state. Here's the temperature map. You can see temperatures generally in the mid-30s towards 40, a little further south you go. And dew points not far behind. They're generally in the upper 20s and towards 30 and 35 in South Jersey. And because dew points are so high, humidities will be pretty high as well. Humidities generally across the state 70 to 90%, some places even 100% humidity right now. So we do have a moist air mass in place. So as the storm does make its way towards our area, what we do have will be quick to be squeezed out. We're not going to lose any precipitation to Virga this go around. But the problem with this storm is that we don't have a flux of moisture coming in across the state, and so basically the storm, once it makes its way to our area, what it has is what it's got to work with. So a little bit moisture starved, and that will certainly help to keep snowfall totals on the low side. This is the water vapor loop across the country. What we're going to have to deal with is this moisture making its way across Nebraska, Kansas, and Oklahoma towards Missouri, and as that moves eastward, again, that will be in the form of some snow on Thursday into Friday. Another interesting thing you can see here on the satellite loop is this sort of backwards S signature across the Pacific Northwest. This is called a Rex block signature. A block is anything in the atmosphere that sort of slows down the parade of the pattern from west to east across the country. And in particular, a block in the western United States or in the western North Atlantic are two ways that certainly can set the stage, if you will, for snowfall in the east. So with this pattern here, the sort of backwards S signature, what it allows for is any kinks in the flow as they make their way across the country. You can get really a deeper amplification of a trough across the central plains and towards the east coast as well. And that allows for the digging of a storm system, and that's when you can really get some of the stronger storms. Really, some of our best snowstorms historically have come from a blocked pattern, whether it be in the Pacific or the Atlantic or both. So there are some players on the stage that could set the stage for some more significant snowfall, or at least a bigger storm at some point in the foreseeable future. So we'll keep our eye on that. So this is another view of what you're seeing on the satellite loop, or the water vapor loop rather. This is a image of relative humidity at the 700 millibar level. This is a few miles up in the atmosphere, and you can see pretty well saturated across Kansas and Nebraska and Missouri. And again, this is what's going to make its way here towards us in the east on Thursday night into Friday. Now this map is something I want to show you. This is the surface projection for 10 p.m. on Thursday night, and we can see here a 10,000 or rather a 1008 millibar low over the Great Lakes. And well, 10 p.m. on Thursday, we're going to see the snow start to break out around midnight. You would say, where is our storm? We can see nothing here on the coastal plain, really no signs of development, and that just goes to show just how weak this storm is going to be. You could probably step outside and with a good breath of air blow this thing in any direction you wanted to. This is the North American model, and this is the GFS model, which at the same time does show maybe a little bit more development over Virginia and North Carolina. But again, what I wanted to show here is just how weak this storm is. The primary low in the Great Lakes is weak. There's very little redevelopment going on the coast as precipitation starts to break out. This is very much what you would call an overrunning event, where you have a weak wave of low pressure, not a closed storm system, and it really, any precipitation you get is going to come from moisture just sort of overriding this what we have here, very cold air at the surface, but not really a strong system to wring the moisture out, you might say. We go a little further out in time here. This is 4 in the morning. Again, this is the NAM. You can see our low starting to fade over the Great Lakes, and we're starting to see something develop towards the Cape, the Virginia Capes, Cape Hatteras, the Outer Banks, Maryland, and on the GFS, pretty much the same scenario. But again, a 1,008 millibar low, very weak. Nothing really of significance here. Winds are going to be very light throughout this event, and that actually might help snowfall in another respect, as when snowflakes fall through the atmosphere, if they encounter a lot of wind, they get shredded apart and they accumulate a little more densely on the ground instead of having a soft cushion effect. Sort of think about the way you lay on a pillow at the end of the night, or rather first thing in the morning, and it's all flattened out. But at the beginning of the night, you might sort of fluff it up, get some more space and air in between the feathers. It's the same thing with winds that can sort of shred the snowflakes into smaller pieces, allowing them to accumulate in smaller amounts. Now, again, this is 4 a.m. This is basically the height of the storm for us here in New Jersey, and this is a little further up in the atmosphere. This is 925 millibars, so we're moving vertically. And you can see here we don't have a closed low anywhere, not even in the Great Lakes. Same thing as you go a little further north, 850 millibars. There's nothing going on, just weak southwesterly flow, bringing whatever moisture started out, as we saw in Kansas and Nebraska, making its way towards us, just sort of moving that moisture along in the direction of New Jersey. So how do we get any sort of moisture or precipitation out of that moisture? Well, the two things you need for snowfall or for rainfall, you need moisture and you need lift. So what I wanted to show here is why I think South Jersey sort of will be the jackpot, if you will, although I expect very uniform snowfall across the state. But you can see here at 850 or 925 millibars across New Jersey, this is a depiction of the vertical velocity, or how rapidly the lift will be from the surface to aloft. And at 925 millibars, you can see the best dynamics over Maryland and southern Pennsylvania. Move a little further up in the atmosphere at 850. Again, southern Pennsylvania, South Jersey, Delaware, that's where we're seeing the best dynamics, the best lift. One more step up in the atmosphere, 700 millibars, and again, we can see the best lift being off to the south. So with the limited moisture that we have here and the best dynamics to the south, I am expecting a small maximum of snowfall to be over South Jersey this go around. And the last thing here that I wanted to show, this is the precipitable water for the storm as it makes its way to the east. You can see the best moisture really far off the coast and to our south. As we saw here in some of the other levels, there's no closed low. There's no reason to think that we're going to get any sort of an easterly component off the ocean, no southerly component to really bring up moisture from the Gulf or from the Atlantic. This is 850 millibar, this is 925 millibar. Again, very, very weak winds. There's no mechanism to bring in moisture off the ocean here, and so as a result, most of the liquid moisture in the atmosphere, if you sort of took it as a sponge and wrung it out, this is the amount that you would squeeze out from the surface all the way to the top of the atmosphere. You can see the best moisture content is going to be off to our south and our east. So I definitely think that South Jersey takes the cake on this one. Here's the snowfall map for the state. 1 to 3 inches, pretty much north of 195, 2 to 4 south. Very uniform snowfall, and again, I think that the bulk of it falls between maybe 4 and 7 o'clock in the morning on Friday. So the rush hour on Friday could be a problem. It's all out of here by midday on Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday, as I said in the email, very cold, as we see some of the coldest air of the year here in New Jersey. We'll see single-digit lows, maybe even getting towards zero, maybe even sub-zero temperatures for far parts of northwest New Jersey. So bundle up for sure, and get the snow shovel ready, and I'll have another update if necessary on this storm tomorrow, but I don't think that's likely, and we'll definitely have an update sometime over the weekend to talk about snow potential for Tuesday and Wednesday. All right, stay safe, stay warm, warm regards.